the element of speed.
Yep.
Yeah. So innovation, if it's slow, is a bit useless because you will finally get an idea after everyone, which is not very competitive today, right? So if you want to have innovation, you also need to be fast.
So it's very important that people need to understand that introducing AI or agentic ops doesn't completely eliminate the need for the human in the loop.
Welcome to a podcast. Enterprises across Asia Pacific are juggling with multiple priorities, be it digital transformation, some are considering cloud repatriation, some are also focusing on AI workloads. And at the same time, many companies are also operating out of multiple clouds. What this means is that there is a significant level of complexity in terms of managing the IT operations today. So, do organizations should really consider looking for a partner who has deep expertise in managing operations, or should they just struggle it out and try to do things on their own and miss out on the innovations which potentially they could have driven while letting the operations be led by experts? We are here today with us two senior leaders from Hewlett Packard Enterprise, Christoph and Mani, and we will go a little deeper into understanding their perspective of managed services, why it's important to customers, how some of our customers are benefiting with it, and if you are one of our customers listening to this, then what you potentially gain from managed services. But before we get started, first of all, thank you, Christoph and Mani, for joining for this conversation. Let's start with some quick introductions.
Yeah, thank you, Nusrat, and welcome to everyone to the call. So, my name is Christophe Maisonnave. I'm actually leading the hybrid cloud solution sales for Asia Pacific. I'm based in Singapore, and I've been in HPE for a little bit more than 25 years.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Nusrat and Christoph. And I'm Mani, based in Singapore again, and part of worldwide managed services sales organization, responsible for complex pursuits and in innovation across the globe for managed services.
Great. I think let's move our conversation forward. So based on your interaction with the customers, what are the kind of challenges are they sharing with you?
I think today the customer, the largest number of customers that we have seen, especially the one who are really going into this hybrid cloud type of operation, they realize a couple of things. And the first thing that they realize is change happening much more frequently than before. The second thing that they are currently having as a problem or as a challenge is also to have the right type of resources at the right point of time to manage this new environments. Right? So they're always catching up. And finally, of course, there is an element of having the right amount of spending for the outcome that they need to give to the business, right? So I think today these are the three main challenges that you have in operation. There is also a little bit of loss of control, which is happening also into this journey. And I think a lot of our customers are trying to find a way to get back in control and also build best practices or best formula for them to manage this new form of complexity.
I resonate well with Christoph, right? So one of the key points what you mentioned, Christoph, is on cost, right? Optimizing or doing it at lower, right? What do I see in the region from the enterprises are typically two main themes, right? And first one of them is do more for less in the choppy economy, right? So we know how we're running right now. And second is to keep up pace with AI-based solutions, which helps them to improve efficiency and do more, right? And these are the two key themes, what I'm seeing from most of our customer interactions, right? And when I say do more with less, the key thing is customers are expecting us to improve efficiency, to increase productivity by introducing, AI ops-based tools or agentic ops-based tools, right? That's one. And two, how do we help us accelerate digital transformation in operations? Again, customers are not expecting us to just run day-to-day operations, right? They're expecting us to do DevOps-based delivery model, right? And the general concept of DevOps, which is very misunderstood, is, people think, we try and make dev people to do operations and operations people to do development, right? However, that's not the case. What we need to understand here is both skills are unique and both are essential. The key part here is to collaborate and working together, right? In HPE Managed Services, as part of innovation, what we try to do here is when we work with individual customers, we try and identify routine, repeatable tasks, which we could possibly automate using AI ops or agentic ops. And in reality, we cannot automate 100% of incidents, right? Because most of them would need some level of peer-to-peer interaction. We may not know what action need to take, and they need to collaborate across multiple teams. So it's very important that people need to understand that introducing AI or agentic ops doesn't completely eliminate the need for the human in the loop. Right? So it's both, but it helps achieve at least 40 to 50% of vast majority of routine and repeatable tasks that can be automated, right? So these are the two aspects that what we see today from the customers.
So I think you touched upon some multiple aspects of challenges and what managed services can do. From a customer perspective who is listening to this conversation, how can managed services basically help them spend more time on innovation and less on operations?
I think also the term managed services is also a little bit confusing, I would say, because it's not just a bench of services. Yeah. There is also an amount of experience and learning on the foundation of these services. So a company like HPE is not coming and trying to figure out what to do. They have been doing things for customer into multiple contexts and multiple regions, and they have been building also a foundation around that, right? And that is one of the value proposition that we have is not just a set of services, it's also an experience and a set of tools who have been proven. Yeah. So of course there is an element of management of change and adjustment, as you mentioned, but this is not coming with a kind of let's start everything from scratch, and maybe we need to find this tool and this tool. Are they going to work together? Do we have the right ticketing? I mean, all that is coming completely integrated also, I think, as part of the solution. So managed services is more than just services. They are solutions.
Right. That's right.
And that's I think, one of the value proposition that we have here is to really bring a solution to life, and that solution can be multiple, right?
Yeah, that's true. Adding to what Christoph said, right? When managed services operate into an account, right, we typically work like an extended arm of customers' IT operations team. And we do take care of day-to-day operations. And at the same time, adding to your point on, tools, right? And there are so much of tools in the market today, right? And customers are often very confused and they have duplicating, set of tools, right?
Yeah.
And what managed services, what we do is that we bring in a curated set of tools that could be readily deployed for the customer environment. And we call it as people, process, and platform, right? And when you say platform, it's agentic ops enabled platform and process oriented. All work that what we do is all ITIL standard work that what we do, and it's with people in the center. Right, so that's how we do it, and that typically allows customer to offload their routine task and focus on the innovation what they would want it to do.
Great. I think you've touched upon people, process, platform, and also the AI ops front.
Right.
When it comes to modernization, every customer is planning for modernization. So in that context, how does managed services really help accelerate that journey and even help them in terms of real modernization of a hybrid cloud adoption kind of a project?
So modernization, I would say, is a kind of standardization to provide cloud-like experience, right, across on-prem and multiple set of clouds, right? In the beginning, you said that customers typically run not only on-prem, but they also have different clouds where they run their applications, right? With managed services, what we try and do with people, platform, and tools is that we provide a consistent cloud-like experience, right? From a customer operations perspective, irrespective of where they run their workloads, we provide a consistent cloud-like experience.
And also, I think one other angle that I see that we should also add here is the element of speed.
Yep.
Yeah. So innovation, if it's slow, is a bit useless. because you will finally get an ID after everyone, which is not very competitive today, right? So if you want to have innovation, you also need to be fast. And adopting to a new technology is something that you also need to do quickly, because if your competitor is able to do that faster than you, then they will be to market also faster than you. So I think a lot of our customers today, and I go back to my initial statement, is there is so many things changing into the market, so many technology were coming, than to have a proven set of solution coming from managed services who have been already tested into some other context before, is also going to accelerate this delivery of the services to the business, for that business to be able to be the first on the market with a solution which is going to be able to monetize before the competitor, right?
Yeah. So the other aspect is competitiveness and being future ready. So for CIOs or IT leaders who are looking at competitiveness and being future ready, how can managed services really help them?
I mean, again, we go back to innovation and agility, right? I think what we are able to provide here is again a platform which is able to be used safely. Yeah, future is only possible if today you are safe. If you have a foundation which is not safe and not robust enough, where you continuously have hiccups, outage, and so on, so again, you are not going to be future-proof, and you will also have a very bad reputation into the market. So again, transitioning some of this risk in operation, some of this lack of comprehension of some of the technologies and so on, to a partner like HPE is actually at least starting a foundation which is going to be future-proof. Of course, in addition of that, we have technology, and we will continue to have an additional set of technology to also be able to be open enough, because our technology is not just for one customer. We are a global operation ultimately, right? So we need to have a set of tools and procedure who are not just good for one niche environment, just into one market, just one vertical, just one simple workload, right?
Yeah.
So we need to have that kind of agility also into our services and technology and people. And I think that's what is also important for the future of the customer. They are working with a partner which is able to have a certain open mindset, right? And able to manage the infrastructure that they have today, but also have the readiness and the continuous engineering and initiative to run the future for the customer, right? So I think that's one of the aspects that I see.
That's true, really, Christophe, right? So when we talk about Nusrat, for example, private cloud AI, right? So AI as such is a very fast evolving, trend, right? We see newer set of tools and everything coming at a very fast pace, and it's very difficult for everyone to be always ahead of the game, right? Everyone is playing a catch-up game. Right. In that scenario, how we do help our customer, right, is, we help customer focus on their core work, right? Training their models, running the models and bringing outcome, making inference out of it and making real sense for their business, right? And from managed services perspective, what we do is to not only maintain the underlying infrastructure, but also until the software layer, right? We do a complete management up till the platform, which makes it easier for customer not to worry about what is changing, under the hood, and they focus on their workload and, making sense for their business.
Yeah, and also one particularity of what we offer is, this type of use case are not consistent, I would say, across all the different platforms that the customer is having. So we have a set of adjustment that we can give into the type of service that we give. So for certain, let's say, legacy that the customer is having, and they have already a team which is managing that perfectly fine, and they have all their tool set and so on, we will leave that to them if they want to, and we will focus in deploying our solution and offering into something which is not present at the moment. So again, one of the particularity of what we propose also for the customer into his future roadmap is to minimize the internal transformation, also to make sure that people don't have something which is too brutal, and say, okay, let's continue to run whatever is the business as usual. And for this next level of innovation, then we bring the additional value. Then we bring this element of de-risking for that component. So we can have this kind of modularity into the set of solution and services that we give to the customer, depending on what they have really into their entire ecosystem. So they may have a certain operation model with us into a region A. Let's say, for example, Singapore, we may have something where we have a pretty light touch on their operation, but maybe into a country like Malaysia, where they have less people at disposition, where they have less competency, then there we may actually add more capacity and technology to basically remove that gap. And then to the end customer, we have this kind of uniform outcome ultimately, right? So again, that is something that we can also help them to have for the future. It's not just the technology, it's also like, for example, so now there are no more just Singapore and Malaysia. If let's say tomorrow morning, they want to go in, let's say Australia, we have capacity in Australia that they will not have. So again, we can accelerate that ramp up or that readiness for that market by giving them the same set of services, but again, for that specific region. But for the customer, again, it's uniform across the 3, 4, 5 different edge department that they will have, right?
Yeah. So I think so far we covered the challenges which customers have, the attributes of managed services and the scope and the coverage which can help them. Now, if somebody listening wants to understand whether it's relevant for us, what are the kind of customers who will benefit from managed services?
So today, obviously, enterprise grade customer is the de facto today because they have been, they have a legacy and a complexity that they want to optimize. So we have been working with customers like that, large conglomerate who have multiple locations, who are coming, especially, let's say, inbound. Company who have maybe an operation, let's say, into the UK, and they want to come in Asia. They don't have the people in Asia. So again, we can supplement them into that. But as Mani was saying, we have also a customer who have been incubating a certain set of solution by their own. They have a capacity which is really limited, but they have a very innovative maybe offering which is starting to scale. And again, they are manipulating some data who need to be into a kind of very safe environment, and they cannot put that into maybe a public cloud, but they need to have that experience of services because they don't want to invest into this type of services or people internally. They will prefer to invest on people to continue to innovate their solution instead of innovating into the IT, right? Yeah. So the platform, they want to give that to someone, and whatever is going to be operate on top of the platform, then that's where they want to invest. Again, that's probably the type of relationship that we will establish with customer and the type of business that we will do with them.
Yeah, and adding to that, right? To answer your question, any customer who are looking for adopting emerging technologies, right? We can seriously support them because acquiring the skills and knowledges for each and every, capability or the function in their technology stack is not going to be easy, right? You don't find them in the market, right? Mm-hmm. And even if you get somebody and getting them trained to suit your requirements is another task. So with managed services, right, we have capabilities which are built in-house, which are supporting, as you mentioned, right? We do provide a global coverage, have 12 delivery centers across the globe with 3,000 plus members, right? And we constantly keep upskilling our resources, right, to stay ahead or at least follow the technology trend, right, which really helps customer, right, to adopt newer technologies and they can go to their productive use sooner, right? Instead of taking 6 months, 8 months to, get an ROI, if they possibly work with us, all that they need to buy is work with us, GreenLake, our platforms, and they deploy it, we manage it for them, and then they get to focus on their work.
Great.
Yeah, another thing also is, I think also the more you are successful, the more you will be subject to compliance.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and it's difficult to tighten innovation. Mm-hmm. Innovation, you need to be always with open-minded. You need to have that agility and that flexibility. Operation is something which is a little bit less, I will say, open-minded. You need to have a certain consistency. You need to be capable of reporting on a regular basis with something which is quite continuous and stable, right? again, we have also customers who are starting to be more and more successful. And with that success, they are starting to scale and they are becoming a little bit out of control. Because, yeah, they have been a little bit of a garage type of business where they were doing things by their own. This guy can fix this, he can fix that. But, when you start to have too many environment, too many complexity, and too much interaction also that you need to serve customer, at one point you are basically out of control. That is also a type of scenario where I think we can also play. Maybe not to bring something which is like too complicated to them, but at least something which is consistent and compliant. Where we can say, okay, Mr. the customer, now you, if you want to be at that level of standard of operation, and if you haven't do that before, this is something that we can help you with. And again, we can give them a certain roadmap. We have actually a set of services also to not only deliver, but also prepare the customer into a roadmap to transition from where they are to the state of the art of the operation. And that is, again, something that we put into our services.
Great. So in conclusion of our discussion, if you have to give a couple of key takeaways for our audience, what it would be?
No, I think I would like Mani to maybe explain what they are doing to somehow work on that transition with the customer. Because I think it's very important to understand that it's not just a commercial thing. When we have to engage into services with customer, there is a little bit of a bridge that we need to build. And we have also a set of best practices to go into that process. So maybe, and I think this is also one of the strength that Mani is actually having is to get into that discussion with the customer. So maybe if you can explain a little bit, like how do we build that bridge from, say, designing all the way to really going into the operation?
Yeah. I think before answering this point, right, I just wanted to have one more point on our previous conversation, right? You mentioned about innovation, right? And today everybody wants to be on the bandwagon, right? They wanted to deploy AI, they want to do agentic ops and everything, right? And unless I think what you mentioned is a very important point on compliance and risk, right? With the new age, fast-paced tools, what you also get is higher risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right? If you don't have a clear guardrails and security posture, you tend to actually create more problems than doing any good for your environment, right? And at HPE, what we do is whenever we build a solution which is based on agentic ops for operations or AI, we go through a strict internal, compliance posture and security, check before it gets rolled out to the customer, which in a way minimizes the risk. We don't eliminate them, but we minimize it and make sure that we have enough guardrails based, right? Compliance. Now, adding to that, onto the next part on how do we bridge this, right? So we have created certain use cases, right? And for example, some of the largest customers who we do, right, who are not only in the data centers, but across different edge locations, for example, right, in a country, right? So we have one data centers and they have like, hundreds of edge locations where they're running, HPE environment. And what we identified is the repeated set of, routine issues or problems that what we see and face. And we slowly introduce, agentic ops or AI ops into the environment to clear those repeatable routine tasks, which could be driven by system with human in the loop, right? And you won't believe that, for one of the largest customer in Americas region, we actually implemented this and we could really bring in a quick value realization of up to 30% reduction in tickets, incident tickets coming from edge locations.
Great.
Right. Some of the, a simple thing, right? An ILO, for example, right? In a server, if, in a store, if the, fan runs at higher speed than, any other thing without, knowing what the issue is, it might not be really an issue, but, all that it requires is a quick ILO reset. Right. So we identified that, do some pre-check. And if it meets those criteria, all that we do is just do a quick reset and then it goes back to the normal situation and your tickets gets closed automatically, right? It's in very simple use cases, but we're doing a lot of complex scenarios as, working with HPE set of IPs and our own tools, which would help right from provisioning, for example, Green Lake Intelligence, right? If you use it, you could actually migrate from VMware to VME sitting on our platform, right? All run by agentic ops, right? That's a good example, and we continue to evolve, and it's a very fast changing environment, and we try to do our best to stay
Yeah,
in that
and I
place,
think
yeah?
so this kind of use case are also things that we need to discuss as a kind of a workshop and table discussion where we look at we need to analyze a little bit the different process that the customer is having. We need
Correct.
to play a little bit this process to understand where are the potential streamlining that we have, how we can actually automate this process, what kind of tool set that we can actually propose to embed this process inside, what are our standards. So we have also a set of standard procedure and tools and so on that we may want to propose to the customer to adopt because it's going to bring this kind of outcome in terms of operation and time to market. So we have a set of workshops to go through all this, I would say, listening from the customer and design, right? To finally define, as I talked about just before, a form of a roadmap to tell to the client and to his ecosystem, because there is a form of management of change will have to happen. We have some customers, depending on where they are, the management of change will be very light because there is nothing to change, because nothing is existent. There is some customer, and we have some case like that. For example, in South Pacific, we had a pretty large, service provider that we transform into a cloud service provider. Yeah. So and that transformation is not just a technical one. It is also to take out the resources that they have, take out the tool that they have, transform this tool to basically be converted to our technology and IP, find the benefit of that transformation, explain. So this whole life cycle, of course, is very expensive, but what I can say is that effort today, this same customer see the benefit of that investment, because now they are becoming the largest service provider into this part of the world. Yeah, so they start from they were quite dominant there, but today they are the one. They are the top gorilla of that country when it comes to cloud managed services. And I think that mix of people and technology and services have been really critical for making that transformation for them as well. And I think we have been working with them for already 3-4 years. And this year we are even expanding again, because they have a new legacy type of services that they had that they want to again modernize. And again, we go jointly with them to see how we are going to bring that into the platform, into the set of technology and people that we have. Sometime acquire some of their people into our future and move forward, right? So it's this exchange is very important, and to understand also the roadmap, I think, is where is the secret. Okay. Is if you go into this kind of transformation into something which is too much of a top-down, too brutal, is going to create so many tension that at the end you will not get the outcome. So one of the recommendations that I have is to really go into this progressive road mapping. Yeah, make sure that you understand really where you are, because that understanding will give you also a set of services who are going to be a bit neutral in front of the problem. Yep. Sometimes people want to transform, but they are so much skin in the game internally that actually it's difficult to kill the baby, right? But if it's somebody which is coming outside a little bit externally, I think it's easier to listen and to have a more neutral point of view. And that can help a lot of the customer and a lot of executives to have a neutral assessment of where you are as a customer and where you can improve by having some touching here and there. But at least we have this kind of very professional way of addressing some of these problems without being too much on one party or another party of the discussion. We arrive as a neutral service provider here, and I think that's a value proposition.
So I think that was a very interesting example where leveraging managed services, we help a dominant player in a region or in a country become the market leader. I think that's a very fantastic point to formally basically conclude our conversation. So really thanking both of you for your time and an engaging and an insightful conversation. So thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nusrat.
Thank you, Nusrat.
And to our audience who are listening to this podcast, you can leverage managed services to help your customers not only save time from the complexity of the operational issues, but for some of their emergent workloads where they need expertise of somebody like HPE to take care of the complexity, plus also addressing the risks around the compliance. If that also needs to be addressed, that's managed services is an area where you should definitely look at. And like our panelist was sharing, the starting point is a workshop where your requirements are understood in a deeper way, and not really a service, but an entire proper solution is curated for your specific workload or environment. So with that note, thank you for listening and bye for now.